Welcome to Mimi's Math Channel. Today I will discuss writing exponential equations. The two ways that I will focus on in this video is y is equal to a times b raised to the x power, and y is equal to a times the quantity of 1 plus or minus r raised to the x power. A is represented by the initial or starting value. If you see the word double, then you're going to replace b with 2. And if you see the word triple, you're going to replace b with 3. Otherwise, this multiplier, which is your b value, is made up of your 1 plus or minus your rate. And that rate has to be in a decimal form. Usually in a word problem, it's given as a percentage. You're going to have to convert it. Another way for saying multiplier is going to be growth or decay factor. Not both. It's one or the other. Before we start writing the exponential equations, I want to go ahead and do a quick review to help you go from fraction form to a decimal to a percent. The operation that you are using is division. The way that you say it is the way that you enter it into the calculator. 3 divided by 4. Once you type in 3 divided by 4, the answer is in decimal form, 0.75, which is what's shown here. To go from a decimal to a percent, there's more than one way to do it. You can take your decimal and then you can just move it to the right 2 places, and that will look like this. And once you do that, you're going to get 75. It's understood that the decimal is after it. That 75 that you just came up with, that is now being converted to a percent, so you have to include the percentage sign. Another way that you could have done this was to actually take 0.75 and multiply it times 100. Let's go back to decimals. I'm just going to copy this and paste it on the next line and multiply it times 100. And you will see it still gives you that 75. I also want to know, how do I go from 3/4 to 3/16 to 3/64? I would suggest that you look at the numerator only and then go back and look at the denominator. What did I have to do to go from 3 to 3 to another 3? Well, I had to multiply it by 1. We're talking exponential growth or decay, so it's going to be a multiplier. We're multiplying. And then I'm going to go back and look at my denominator. If I don't know 4 times what is 16, then work backwards. What's 16 divided by 4? It's 4. So let's test it to see if I'm still multiplying by 1/4 here. 3 times 1, 16 times 4. Yes, I am. That means I can fill in the last fraction. If I take 3 times 1, that's going to give me another 3. And then 4 times 64, that's going to give me 256. My second column, I already have my decimal. And what I want to do is I want to move it 2 places because 100 has 2 zeros. That's why I'm moving it 2 places. That's what percent means, 100. So I'm going to move this decimal over 1, 2, and get rid of that decimal. And when I rewrite this as a percent, it will now read as 18.75. Remember, you have to include the percent sign. Let's say I didn't know the fraction, but I knew the percent, and I wanted to go from a percent to a decimal. What I would do is go the opposite direction. I'm going to find where my decimal is, and I'm going to move it over 2 places to the left. Well, I only have one number, so I have to use a 0 placeholder. This part is important. Do not drop that 0. When I go up to my decimal, I'm going to write it as 0.0469. So some people actually forget this part because they are used to seeing the 0 out front, which you can still put a 0 in front of your decimal, but just don't forget to also include the one after. Starting from our fraction, since we understand that this means divide, we can just type in 3 divided by 256 to get our decimal. Once I put the fraction in decimals, I'm going to have a lot of digits after my decimal. I'm going to just go ahead and stop at the 4th digit. In this instance, since I'm going to drop the other 4, I need to pay attention to the 5th digit. If it's 5 or higher, I have to add 1 to the number in front. But since it's not, drop everything after the 7. My decimal would look like this. Now I want to convert my decimal to a percentage. I'm just going to move the decimal over 2 places to the right, or I will actually just multiply this number by 100, whichever way is easiest for you. When I move the decimal over 2 places, I now have a 1 in front of the decimal, and then after the decimal 17, add my percentage sign. You could also take 0.0117 and multiply it times 100. It will give you the number that's shown here, 1.17, and then you would just add your percent sign. In this example, I am going to begin writing my equation. Aaron is 62 inches tall and grows at a rate of 1.75% per month. As you are reading, it will be a good idea to go ahead and use this form to create your equation. So we know we're starting with 62. That's going to be our A. And then it says grows. So that tells us whether or not we're going to use a plus or a minus. If I see something like grow, increase, anything that I'm adding, I'm going to use the plus sign. And then I can just go ahead and put the 1 in front of it. So 1 plus and whatever follows. If it's a percent, we have to convert it to a decimal. We will move the decimal back 2 places, or you can write it as y equals a times b raised to the x power, and b is going to be the simplified version of this. If there is a plus sign here, all you have to do is remove the plus sign and just put the numbers together. So it will be 1.0175. Now I'm going to answer the question where it's asking for time. How tall will Aaron be after 8 months? And then I'm going to round it to the nearest inch. That means there should be no decimals in my answer. So this is what the formula will look like, but you could also use the first one. Replace that x with 8. When we go to Desmos, I'm going to type it in using this first one, and then I'm going to show you could also use the second one and how to find this answer. So starting here, if I typed it in like this with the X, go ahead and go to the table by selecting the gear setting. Select table, and I notice I don't see the number 8, so I'm going to manually type 8 in, and that gives me my answer. You were asked to round it to the nearest inch, which means there should not be any decimals. The number after the decimal, if it's 5 or higher, I'm going to add 1 to the number in front. If not, drop all of that and just leave what's in front of your decimal. Your answer should be 71 inches. Let me show you what it would look like if you use the other formula. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, paste it. I'm going to take out the plus sign, and that's my correct formula. Do not do that if there's a minus sign there, because you actually have to simplify it. You can't just take the minus sign out. Now I want to make sure I'm on this row. Go to my gear setting and select this table. I can see that my expression matches, and I'm going to go and type 8. And I will notice that my answer is still the same, even though I used a different expression. If I go down here and I paste again, this time I replace the X with an 8, it will automatically give me my answer. And again, if I were to take this one, copy it and paste it, replace that X with an 8, it's going to give me the same thing. I see that I still have the same answers. The only difference is in the table, my digits are truncated, and here it shows a little bit more digits. We don't need all of that information. In the last example, Alex buys a new truck for $48,000. The truck depreciates by 15% each year. As I'm reading, I'm going to go ahead and formulate my equation. 48,000 is my initial value, so that's A. The truck depreciates, that's a key word. That tells me I'm going to decrease or subtract, decay. It starts with DE. And I'm going to put a 1 in front of it, minus. I am going to move the decimal that's understood to be after the 5 back to the left 2 places, which will give me 0.15. If you're trying to go from a percent to a decimal, that means decimal starts with a D, you want to divide. So 15 divided by 100, and it will tell you in decimals or in your calculator. This is what my formula should look like. I'm going to go ahead and set it up 2 ways. This is in the form of y is equal to a times the quantity of 1 minus r raised to the x power. And now once I simplify 1 minus 0.15, that's going to give me my b as the multiplier, 0.85. In Desmos, if you just type that in, it'll tell you the answer for your multiplier, which is 0.85. Now the question is, what will the truck be worth after 6 years? So I'm going to do the same thing I did a few minutes ago. I'm going to show you what it would look like 4 ways. I'm going to show it this way with the table, this way with the table, And then I'm going to replace the X with 6. After 6 years, we're going to go ahead and substitute 6 in for your X. The amount will be $18,103.18. When we are talking money, the dollar sign comes first, and then we have 2 places after the decimal, which represents your cents. If you look in Desmos, this is the 4 ways that you can show it. The first way, use your table, type in the number that you're looking for. It will give you the output. Second way, all I did was take 1 minus 0.15. This time you cannot remove the negative sign and put the numbers together because that will give you the incorrect multiplier, or in this case, decay factor. And then I can also take those same equations and just substitute my X value with what number I'm looking for. When I'm looking at my decimals, I only want to go 2 places out. This is what the final value of the truck will be after 6 years. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have an amazing day.